You're listening to the Russell Bread Podcast.
Yowie wowie! With one beer, 2 beers.
You just went Austin 360 meets Pillman.
Oh my God.
Tony?
Yeah.
Cut the shit.
How many red carpets you guys want to walk in your $4,000 ridiculous heels? You will never be able to lace up my Chuck Taylors.
This is your fault. This is your fault.
I didn't get mad when you stole all my moves.
Your daddy's not here anymore.
How was your movie, by the way? I missed it.
Mine went straight to DVD, just like yours.
Careful you don't hurt your neck again going through those ropes.
And the spirit of Ultimate Warrior will run forever.
You're listening to the Russell Bread Podcast.
What's going on, guys? This is Jaydee, and this is episode 174 of the Russell Bread Podcast. So we have the Elimination Chamber coming up. We had a little bit of craziness going on in the wrestling world. We are working towards Revolution over in AEW. There were some announcements with Ring of Honor and a little bit of craziness that's been going on as well. We just came from Super Bowl Sunday. Congrats to the Chiefs for beating the Eagles and saving the chaos that would have been on my timeline, because half of my family are most of my family are Eagles fans, and then there's a few people in my family who are Cowboys fans. And then, of course, I have friends who are also hardcore Eagles fans as well. And I knew if they were to win, not only you won't be able to leave out of your house come Tuesday unless you are an Eagles fan, but I knew that my text messaging and my Facebook timeline, Instagram, the TikTok, wherever would have been flooded of people coming at me because the Eagles won the Super Bowl for the second time. Whereas though I'm just looking for, the Cowboys just got their first playoff win in I don't even know how many years. So thanks to the Chiefs for winning. I predicted that the Chiefs were going to win as well. If you haven't listened, I made predictions and talked about the season and the preview and predictions of the Super Bowl on the 3 and Out podcast. Be sure to check that podcast out as well. But overall, it's just been a crazy and amazing season. I love football season. Baseball's right there too. I'm not the biggest basketball person. I haven't watched basketball since Allen Iverson played, just to give you guys a bit of a background of where we're at. Like, I know who's in the NBA, but if you tell me like what team such and such play for, I have no idea. But I'm right there with but I'm a Phillies fan too. Don't let it get it twisted. Wherever, I don't bleed green, I bleed red. Of course, we all do, but I'm a Philly fan. I go to the games a lot and everything like that. So that's where my Philly fanatic-ism is at. It's with the Phillies. But, now we are, of course there's other football leagues that's coming with the XFL and the USFL as well. But now the attention is being turned to wrestling because we are in the middle of WrestleMania season, baby. My favorite pay-per-view because it's right near my birthday. WrestleMania takes place a week before my birthday. My birthday's on Easter this year, which is like, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. We'll figure it out. But we are in the middle of, like I said, WrestleMania season. We got Elimination Chamber coming, and then we are on to the countdown to WrestleMania as well. So, first of all, even with Patrick Mahomes, he got the WWE belt, was parading it around after the Super Bowl, and of course during the parade as well, just having the best of times. So, let's get into some wrestling here. So, according to a recent interview, and I read the transcript of some parts of the interview, Tony Khan feels as though that AEW and WWE are at a war, that there is a lot of hatred between the companies and things like that. And some of the things that he felt some type of way about was the fact, of course, the rumors that we had previously heard that WWE has reached out to AEW wrestlers to find out how long is their contract, to entice them to get out of their contracts and things like that. Tony Khan didn't really mention names, but he said, of course, used the word allegedly. That's what he was been told. And then there was another instance where WWE, when it came out that AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling were going to work together, that WWE reached out to New Japan and tried to work with them and tried to not work with AEW, which Tony Khan mentioned that he was told. And he felt as though that there is a war between WWE and AEW and that there is a real hatred. Now, look, I am a fan of AEW. I'm happy of what AEW has brought to, pro wrestling, that it gives opportunities to wrestlers who may not have that opportunity in WWE or anywhere else, that it gives a broader perspective to wrestling fans, that, if you are not the biggest fan of things that WWE has, you have alternatives. And it gives you a leadway into the indies as well, because they do feature a lot of wrestlers from the indies. As we saw with New Japan, we have Ring of Honor that Tony Khan owns as well. And it just introduced you to a lot of people who you never heard of. Jade Cargill, for me, the Lucha Bros, people who never heard of Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks as well. And, even Willow Nightingale, I didn't know about Willow Nightingale until I started with, until she was working with AEW. And so my opinion to what Tony Khan said, I don't know why people are surprised by this. Like, I'm not surprised at what WWE does. WWE has had decades of trying to screw over companies. We have MLW that is in the middle of a lawsuit with them. We had, shit that happened with WCW. I mean, people don't realize that the Attitude Era, it was actually taken from ECW. It's a concept of, what ECW was doing, and they just pretty much put it to a mainstream audience. And the biggest thing, I know people like to point out Vince McMahon and stuff like that, but even with Triple H, people don't realize what Triple H was planning to do with the black and gold NXT before they made it colorful. He was planning to do NXT in other countries. They already had NXT in the UK, but he was planning to do NXT in Brazil, I believe in India, and he was trying to do it in Japan as well. And the big thing about, and the reason why NXT Black and Gold was so good is because they took the best people that were in the indies. Like, they took half of Ring of Honor and put them in the Black and Gold NXT. They did the same thing with the UK. Now, I'm not sure how true it is, but I've heard that a lot of people were upset of NXT UK because NXT UK pretty much took the best indies wrestlers in the UK, whereas though they can't work anywhere else. So if you owned an independent promotion, and for example, you was working with Walter, let's just say, before he went with NXT UK. Well, now you done lost him for a couple of years because now he's with WWE. So you have to scrounge to try to bring a big name to your promotion, which you couldn't really do because WWE had everyone anyway. And that's what was going to happen with these other countries. That's what happened with US NXT. They took the best indies wrestlers to the point that people who didn't go to WWE or NXT either didn't want to because of, with the main roster, the traveling schedule, or they just really don't have the desire to really work with WWE. I mean, even with NXT, with WWE NXT, they weren't really traveling around like that either. They didn't do a lot of house shows. So you were based in just one location. You didn't have to really worry too much about house shows or anything like that. And they tend to do tapings until they went live, of course. So it was very enticing. And that's what WWE did. And that's what WWE always do. They want to be a monopoly because that's what they were for so long. I mean, people kind of forget, even with WrestleMania, they tried to block other promotions from hosting shows in the same city that WrestleMania was taking place during WrestleMania weekend or during the week. So that's what WWE does. So I'm not sure why people, Tony Khan or, the AEW fans, if they are surprised by the things that WWE's done. That's what they do. They're a giant. I mean, look at you take yourself even outside of wrestling with different companies that are, Walmart and stuff like that. They took out the small businesses. Even with Amazon, it's so much easier to just order things online. Whereas though they took out a lot of the stores that people like. Netflix took out Blockbuster. So, it's just like, it is what it is, unfortunately. You just have to figure out a way to work around it. Luckily for Tony Khan, he has loyal enough wrestlers that told him and rejected WWE from breaking their own contract and trying to go back over to them. It's like, hey, my contract is over at this time. You're just going to have to wait. So, and then he mentioned how there's like a hatred between AEW and WWE. Look, WWE just, like, AEW is competition. Don't get me wrong. AEW is competition for WWE. But WWE is on such of a grand scale that AEW, while they did put a damper on NXT when it was going head to head with Dynamite, it's like their numbers, they can run. We've seen that they ran shows the same day and stuff like that. Or if they were to run a show the same city as WWE would sell more tickets, unfortunately, because WWE is such mainstream. If you think of wrestling, you think of WWE. I mean, look at the branding that they have done with every time that there's a Super Bowl. They send out a belt to the MVP. So we just had Patrick Mahomes, running around with the WWE title. Now, like I said, I root for AEW because they're, number 2 in the US as far as wrestling promotions go. But if you have that dream of taking down WWE, go for it and everything like that. But let's keep it real. WWE is such a global phenomenon for so many decades. It's like, it's not really a war per se. You know what I mean? So I wish them luck. I wish AEW all the luck in the world. But WWE is such a big monster that, I wouldn't say a drop in the bucket, but like the impact that AEW has, while it is meaningful to the wrestling community, it's really nothing compared to what WWE does. Sorry. Like WWE, especially when WrestleMania comes around, there's like this big spectacle and things like that. Whereas so AEW, I guess we could say the equivalent to that maybe is All Out, because it always takes place in Chicago, but there's like no like grand pay-per-view that they have where it feels like everything comes together at this one point like we have with WrestleMania. Also too, speaking of WrestleMania, Cody Rhodes had told on Hot 97 with Peter Rosenberg that he plans to list every independent promotion he worked for during his time away from WWE on the weight belt that he will wear to WrestleMania. I would love to see that happen. And I'm very interested if they will point that out on TV. Now, WWE is cool enough that they will mention stuff like that. But I wonder if he's going to put AEW on there, because you were at AEW during your time away. So he's going to put Ring of Honor, AEW, New Japan. I don't know what other promotions he had really worked for while he was away. But that's what I'm most interested about. So going into some recaps, I'm going to go through AEW quickly, and then we're going to go to WWE, and then my predictions for the Elimination Chamber. So a lot of people had talked about this MJF promo that MJF had cut last week, where he had talked about a instance where there was a woman who was giving him pleasure tease in a car. He was driving fast, they hit a pole, and instead of him taking a fall, he put her body into the driver's seat so she could take the fall. And I didn't know how true this story was. Apparently a lot of people thought the story was true and called the police because, this is attempted murder, I guess, or I forgot exactly the charge that this leads to, but a lot of people had called the police on MJF about it. And people ran with that as the story. My opinion, I'm not sure why we are doing a promo or a scenario of talking about a car crash where someone could have possibly died when we just celebrated the life of someone who actually died in a car crash, 2-3 weeks ago, and we have his brother who is currently wrestling on Dynamite. I felt as though it was a little bit in bad taste. I know it happens a lot in wrestling. We could talk about with Eddie Guerrero and Randy Orton mentioning how Eddie's in hell and stuff like that. I felt as though that was a bit in poor taste as well. So I wasn't quite sure why we thought it was okay to cut that type of promo so close to Jay Briscoe's death. But that's just me. Speaking of Briscoe, Mark Briscoe is all elite now. He is wrestling on Dynamite, which I'm so happy for. It's just fucked up that that's what it took for the Briscoes to appear on TV. Tony Khan did mention that Ring of Honor will have a weekly show starting March 2nd on I believe it's the Ring of Honor platform or the Ring of Honor streaming service, I believe it is. And Mark Briscoe will be on there. I'm guessing we're going to do that until we figure out what Warner Discovery is going to allow as far as with AEW. I forgot when the contracts are up for the the network deals for AEW, but I'm assuming we're waiting for that to come around. I guess to show Warner Discovery what Ring of Honor is all about and how they could possibly put it on there. To me personally, I feel as though they need to figure out Rampage. Rampage is a bit of a mess right now. I used to watch Rampage a lot. I stopped watching Rampage because sometimes it just gets too much. I know people are like, well, they could throw it on after Dynamite and stuff like that. People don't realize this is still 3 hours of TV that you have to watch. Watching Raw sometimes is a bit too much because of the 3 hours. And so when it comes to on Fridays, I'll watch SmackDown and then I'll just catch the highlights of Rampage, either when Bleacher Report send out the notification on my phone or when I go to see it on YouTube. But 3 hours of wrestling, if it's not a pay-per-view, sometimes it's just too much to take in on a weekly basis. Sometimes I could barely do it on Raw. Sometimes Raw is pretty good, whereas though the 3 hours fly by, but consistently week after week with the 3 hours, it gets a little bit too much. And plus, a lot of times the spoilers are given out about Rampage anyway. You hear what's going to happen since it's all pre-taped. And then a lot of times there's only about 3 matches that they have on there. Not always like the best of matches either. We did have this Friday, I believe it's going to be the Elite going against Private Party and AR Fox in a trios match, I believe it was. And it may be that House of Black may come back because there was a little bit of a teaser that they may be coming back one of those trios. But it's still not enough for me to really tune in. This past Dynamite really wasn't that strong. The biggest issue with AEW sometimes is that sometimes their storylines really is a hit or miss. Of course, nothing could compare to the storyline of Hangman Page going after the title, the storyline of Kenny Omega and Daniel Bryan as well. But it just feels like there's a bit of laziness when it comes to the booking, because we see over and over again there is a whole gauntlet thing, which we've seen Ricky Starks go through, of having to go against every member of JAS, even though he already defeated Chris Jericho. We also see it with Daniel Bryan, where he has to defeat a certain amount of people in order to face MJF. He even did this before, where he went through each member of the Dark Order before he went against Hangman Page. And this time we are going through this in order to have the match set up for Revolution. And then on the women's side, there's not a lot that they have going on with the women's side as of right now. They're doing this whole weird storyline with Saraya and Toni Storm against Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter, where it's pretty much NWO 3.0, I guess I should say. And it's very much exactly what happened when NWO came into WWE, or even you could even say WCW came in to WWE, where we had the Invasion or Team WCW going against Team Alliance or Team WWE. Pretty much the same thing. And then the thing that's kind of like making me like cringe is that we're doing the whole spray painting an L for loser, just like NWO. And it's just like, can we just move away from this? Because I'm also confused too as to why Toni Storm suddenly wants to be team, I don't even know what they're calling themselves. I guess, team veteran or something like that. Or team XWE wrestler versus the AEW originals. I'm not sure what is going on here. And then, of course, we have Saraya sitting there saying, this is my house, and this, that, and the third. I don't know. I didn't even watch, honestly, I did not watch that main event. I was happy that the women main evented, but I wish the storyline was a lot stronger. I've heard that the number of viewers were not that great. And I don't blame them because there really wasn't a lot to hold on to that makes you really want to tune in. Especially with that women's storyline. Like I said, I'm very happy that the women main evented, but the storyline for this wasn't strong enough at all. So going into now, we have the Elimination Chamber coming. We have SmackDown that is going on tonight. I just watched the segment with Bray Wyatt and Uncle Howdy. The transition of Bray Wyatt through, I think it was Ashante, into Uncle Howdy. And Uncle Howdy caught him and immediately did the Sister Abigail. Chef's kiss for that. And then he turned around and challenged the winner between Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar. So a little bit of interesting things that we have going on here. I'm not sure what the hell is going to happen with Bray Wyatt come WrestleMania. I can't really see what the WrestleMania match is going to be here. I'm guessing it could be either Bray versus Bobby or Bray versus Brock Lesnar, which will be a bit kind of weird. I'm guessing if he goes against Brock Lesnar, it's mainly going to be someone interfering, either a new member of the Wyatt faction or something like that, or we may figure out who Uncle Howdy is. I mean, we already know it's his brother, Bo Dallas, but to see who's behind the mask. I feel like I just quoted Batman 89 there, but that's a whole different story. And then can we talk about Mrs. Bianca Belair as well? She came out this past Monday. It was a match a triple threat match that she had against Becky Lynch and Bayley. If Bayley or Becky were to win, they'll be included into the Elimination Chamber, which I figured that Bianca was going to win anyway, because that would make it 7 people in the Elimination Chamber when it's normally 6. We also had the Cody Rhodes. I didn't do an episode last week, so I didn't get to cover the promo between him and Paul Heyman. Now, look, I may surprise some people out there because I am president of the Cody Rhodes Hater Club. But I'm a realist here, okay? I can't deny Cody Rhodes is very good at being a babyface. He is. It's just sometimes he does the baby facing a little bit too much. It gives like John Cena vibes. And I'm talking about John Cena in the PG era with the colorful shirts. Sometimes it'd be a little bit too much. And sometimes his promos can get a bit repetitive because we see it a little bit. I'm happy that he changed it up recently. But he will, either mention his dad. He doesn't mention his daughter as much as he did in AEW, but he'll mention his dad and how he's going after the title that his dad never won. What happened last week was that he was cutting the promo, of course, started off with, what would you guys like to talk about? And so he mentioned how it could be Sami Zayn versus Cody Rhodes. The crowd reacted to that. Paul Heyman then comes out and he starts doing his thing. And Cody goes into story mode and he starts talking about how Paul Heyman, and this was a great story, how Paul Heyman, first of all, how the Rhodes family were broke and that Dusty Rhodes didn't really have a job. Paul Heyman called him up and offered him a job in ECW to wrestle. And because of that, Dusty got his confidence again and things like that. And it made Paul Heyman cry. And it was a very touching moment, and it was a very real moment, and it was, you know, and real moments work, you know, if you want to pull the emotion and really pull the story together too. Because I was very interested in how this will relate to the story with WrestleMania, because we have such a strong story with Sami Zayn. It's a bit of a downside with Cody because Cody just came back at the Royal Rumble. And while, yes, you can do the story of I won the Royal Rumble and I'm going to challenge, you know, Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, Roman Reigns is involved with such a strong storyline with the bloodline and Sami Zayn. You have to it just feels like you have to make the story with Cody Rhodes coming in just as strong. And I really appreciated what we did here with this promo, because I was interested in how this was going to tie back to this match against Roman at the WrestleMania. And so Paul Heyman mentioned how, you know, that was a very touching story and stuff like that. And he said, before your father passed, he told me you were his favorite son. And I was like, wow, shots fired at Dustin. Damn. And then he said, but Roman Reigns is the son he wished he had. And I was like, ooh, yes, there goes my Paul Heyman right there. EC Dub forever. And then Cody gets upset, and he said, you know, people always got to get personal and got to make things personal. I'm like, well, dude, yeah, you make it personal because your whole story is that you're going to win the title that your dad never won. So you come in here with the personal story and crying and stuff like that. So it leaves you a bit open to make shots, especially with someone like Paul Heyman. And it just makes you... I've seen people change their Twitter handles to Roman Reigns is Dusty Rhodes' favorite son. I mean, you kind of got to figure that because the tribal chief, in order for you have to acknowledge him, you know? And hey, it is what it is. But it was such a great story they can kind of swindle into. Unfortunately for Cody, though, we are still working with the storyline that they're going to have to finish up with Sami Zayn this coming Elimination Chamber. So then we come to this week where we had Sami Zayn come out and cut a promo. I believe he called Cody Rhodes out. And he asked Cody, do you really think I can you mentioned how it could be me versus you at WrestleMania. And he said, do you really think I can defeat Roman Reigns at WrestleMania? And it was a good promo going back and forth between those two. The only thing I had an issue with was that, I mean, Sami Zayn at this point hit Roman Reigns in the back with the chair. You did the Shield circa 2014, I think it was, that we had the turn. And it's like, dude, you did the thing. You pretty much stood up to Roman Reigns. You even came in and attacked and tried to attack him again, and you challenged him at the Elimination Chamber. So I was a bit confused as to why we kind of went a little bit backwards with his demeanor of being like, do you think I can do it? Like, I don't know if I can do it. I completely forgot that Sami haven't won a major title. He was the NXT champion. I thought he was SmackDown champion at a certain point, but maybe that's in a different universe. And it feels like, dude, you had the balls to hit the tribal chief in the back with a chair with the bloodline in the ring. And it takes me back to when Roman Reigns defeated Undertaker at WrestleMania. He came out the next night on Monday Night Raw to everyone booing him and chanting and calling him a lot of names. And he came out, grabbed the microphone and says, this is my yard now. Now, back then, I did not like the character that Roman Reigns was. I was not on the Roman Reigns train at that time because I felt as though the look doesn't match the underdog thing. But when he said, this is my yard now, and left, I was like, yo, I respect that. Like, you defeated The Undertaker. You need to own that. You have to have some big balls now. And then I think it was like either that SmackDown or the next week he got the interview and he was like, well, it was a bit bittersweet. And I'm like, no. Own that. You just defeated The Undertaker at WrestleMania. If I defeated The Undertaker at WrestleMania, I'm going to carry around a sign. I'm going to be like Brock Lesnar and wear a t-shirt or something. You have to own that moment and be powerful in it and get your power from there. And so I was like, I liked the promo, but I felt as though it was a bit of a back step for Sami Zayn with, do you think I can defeat him? Because it kind of gives you a bit of, it doesn't make it believable that he could defeat Roman Reigns. Now there is that belief there because it's in Montreal, even though we know that Roman Reigns is going to win, but you still want to have a bit of a belief that, Sami could win at Elimination Chamber. And I wish that we had that with Sami Zayn owning it and stuff like that. And, instead, like I said, I liked the way the promo went. Because, and truthfully, I felt as though it was something that Cody needed. Because there could be, depending on how with Cody and trying to stay babyface for WrestleMania is a bit delicate because of Sami Zayn. Because you don't want things to go wrong with Sami Zayn. Like, you don't want to rush this situation with Sami Zayn out the door and make way for Cody, because then the fans will turn on Cody very quickly. You want to keep Cody in the babyface underdog going against Roman Reigns. And so you have to kind of like be a bit delicate when it comes to the crashing of these two storylines that has to do with Roman and Cody and Roman and Sami Zayn. But I wish that, Sami Zayn had a bit more confidence in himself to say like, yo, I just hit the tribal chief in the back with the chair. I'm facing him at Elimination Chamber and stuff. Like, I understand he was saying like, I've seen what he can do and stuff like that. But he could have turned it around and said, I've been around him. I know his weaknesses. I know where to get him. Can I do it? I think I can type of situation. But I don't know. I just didn't like the fact that we kind of took a bit of a step back there. But nonetheless, very good promos as far as we going towards Elimination Chamber and WrestleMania as well. We also have a bit of showing Natalya, of course, because we are going to Montreal, Canada, which is a bit weird because WWE rarely pays attention to her until they go to Canada. And then it's like, wait, we need a member of the Hart family to showcase for when we go to Canada, or we need Kevin Owens. So it's a bit weird that we are doing this, but she has to have her time to shine. I have a lot of respect for Natalya. She, as one of the Hart, like, as big, as popular as the Hart family is, she is one of the members that get the least amount of attention when it comes to the booking. I mean, even her husband had, was in a tag team that became a bit popular as well. So I'm happy that she's getting her time to shine. But, it was just a bit weird. So this is going to be a bit of a short episode because a lot of everything that's happening is coming to an end with Elimination Chamber. And then I will go more into detail in the next episode, breaking down what happened at Elimination Chamber, especially as we go towards the road to WrestleMania. So as of right now, there's only 5 matches that have been announced for Elimination Chamber. I feel as though 5 or 6 matches is a bit of a sweet spot when it comes to pay-per-views. I feel like once we get into the 10s and stuff, closer to 10, sometimes a match will get cut short, or a match won't really make sense and things like that. But anyway, I really love how, that we only have 5 as of right now. So first match, we have Bobby Lashley going against Brock Lesnar. And the winner of this apparently is going to go against Bray Wyatt. Truthfully, to be a bit selfish, I would like Brock Lesnar to win. I feel like Bobby Lashley could win here, though, with the interference of, fingers crossed, of a reunion for the Hurt Business. Maybe. But I think it will be fun to see Brock Lesnar going against Bray Wyatt. it could, like I said, it could go either way. I'm still hoping Bobby Lashley remembers that he lost the title, that he didn't technically lose. But I'm actually going to go with Brock Lesnar here. I know, surprising, shocking, but I'm actually going to go with Brock Lesnar here. Next up for the mixed tag team match, we have Edge and Beth Phoenix going against Finn Bálor and Rhea Ripley of the Judgment Day. Now, this match, it's a bit funny because Rhea Ripley won the Royal Rumble and she has challenged Charlotte at WrestleMania. We really haven't had any interactions between Rhea Ripley and Charlotte because we're doing this whole thing with this mixed tag team match. The thing is, we can't have Rhea Ripley lose a match before she goes on the road to WrestleMania to go against Charlotte Flair. She has to show strength that she could possibly win the title, I should say, at WrestleMania. But then you have Edge and Beth Phoenix. They just came back. We're trying to complete this story between Edge, Beth Phoenix, and the Judgment Day, especially the last time we saw Beth Phoenix before the Royal Rumble. She, had her head smashed in with a chair by Rhea Ripley. So it's like you kind of have to finish that story and have them win there. But you kind of want to keep Rhea Ripley strong unless something happens and, we have Charlotte Flair interfere or something like that will cause Edge and Beth Phoenix to win. But I am going to go with Edge and Beth Phoenix to win because I feel as though we have to close out this story with Edge, Beth Phoenix, and the Judgment Day. Maybe this will all lead to a WrestleMania match between Edge and Finn Bálor. That's what I'm guessing we're going to end up doing. But we have to wrap up this whole story that involves Beth Phoenix. So I'm going to say that I'm going to go with Edge and Beth Phoenix. Next up, we have the Elimination Chamber match for the Raw Women's Championship. The Elimination Chamber match for the number one contender for the Raw Women's Champion. So whoever wins here will face Bianca Belair at WrestleMania 39. So we have Asuka. First of all, Crazy Asuka, Liv Morgan, Nikki Cross, Raquel Rodriguez, Natalya, and Carmella. And it's like, out of all these women here, truthfully, I can only see either Asuka or Liv Morgan here. Wild card would be Raquel Rodriguez. That will be very interesting if she was to win here. And then it will kind of be a nice tie-in because, of course, there was the photo when Raquel, Bianca, and Rhea Ripley were champions. They all took a picture together. So it'd be really cool if it was Raquel going against Bianca. However, I don't know. I love Asuka. And if it's Asuka going against Bianca, it's like I like Bianca and I love Asuka. And Asuka is now Psycho Asuka. And then it's like, well, Liv Morgan was number 2 in the Royal Rumble. And I don't know if we're trying to do this again with her winning the title. The last time she won the title, her title reign wasn't as strong as her chase run. And then we can have Raquel or something like that. I don't know. I'm going to go with my heart. And I'm going to go officially with Asuka. But if Raquel wins, I will not be mad at all. That'll be a very interesting matchup between those two. But I think we may go with Asuka here. Next up, the Elimination Chamber match for the WWE United States Championship. We have Austin Theory going against Seth Rollins, Johnny Gargano, Bronson Reed, Damian Priest, and Montez Ford. This is going to be a fun match here. We pretty much have 4 people who can do some crazy behind moves here. We have the power with Bronson Reed and Damian Priest as well. Well, Damian can also do a little bit of high flying as well. But this is going to be a fun match. Now, I would love for Montez Ford to win here. I know a lot of people want Montez Ford to win here. Because in my opinion, Seth Rollins don't need a title in order to be popular. We have seen that. Damian Priest and Bronson Reed. Bronson Reed's a little bit too new to the main roster to immediately get a title. Johnny Gargano, who I love. I am a bit disappointed with his main roster run so far. I am a bit disappointed. It was a little bit of fun with The Miz, but it's just like not as strong as it was when he was in NXT. I'm hoping maybe Tommaso Ciampa, when he comes back, that we can get a DIY reunion and, you know, make the tag team division a little bit stronger with them two in it. But honestly, I don't see Johnny Gargano winning here. Austin Theory can definitely retain, but I feel like Austin Theory and Seth Rollins, that feud, really don't need a title for that feud to be strong. I'm going to go with a sleeper pick here. I am going to go with Montez Ford. I think it will be so fun. He did mention that he would love to go against Angelo Dawkins at WrestleMania. And it looks like they are going to eventually break up those two as well, because they want that Montez Ford run. And then on top of that, we do have the show that is coming out with Montez Ford and Bianca Belair. So I'm guessing it's going to be Angelo Dawkins that's going to turn heel, because we have to keep those two face in order to promote the show. Even though they were promoting Miz and Mrs., but, you know, that's a different story there. But I'm actually going to go with Montez Ford. I'm hoping he wins. That'll be a lot of fun. But it very well could be that Austin Theory somehow retains here. And then we actually have Austin Theory going against Seth Rollins at WrestleMania for the title. And then finally, we have the match for the Undisputed WWE Universal Championship. We have Roman Reigns going against Sami Zayn. The storyline here will be more intriguing than the match. I mean, Montreal is going to be so behind Sami Zayn. It's going to be crazy. We all know what's going to happen here. Unfortunately, you know, you got to acknowledge the tribal chief, put the ones up in the air. You know, he is the one that's going to win. The only thing I really want, I want Uso versus Uso at Mania. I know we saw that they worked together, and then the little addition that they made, they did defend their titles together on SmackDown, and then Jay kind of left afterwards. He saw Sami Zayn, and he acknowledged Jey Uso as the head of the bloodline, and apparently the tribal chief saw that. And so I don't know what's going to happen with Jey Uso, because we didn't get to that part yet on SmackDown. And then I think the Usos are actually not going to be in Montreal. Yeah, they were told to stay home. So I'm guessing they're not going to be there on Saturday. So I'm guessing Solo will be there. Probably Kevin Owens may pop up as well to do something. That'll be cool. But I'm hoping for Uso versus Uso. I don't want them to team up to go against Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. I want Jey Uso going against Jimmy Uso. And there'll be a great feud for them to do at WrestleMania. If they don't do it at WrestleMania, I hope they do it for SummerSlam. Because like I always say, you know, best friends and family feuds are a lot of fun. Except for the Bella versus Bella one. We don't acknowledge that. But I think Uso versus Uso is going to be a hell of a lot of fun. But looking at this card, it's going to be a lot of fun. The United States Elimination Chamber match, I think, will be match of the night. As far as emotional story, of course, that will go to Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn. I think Bobby versus Brock will be a bit of fun to watch. I'm going to guess that Bray Wyatt may show up somewhere because he's going to go against whoever wins here. So maybe we'll see one of the puppets from the Firefly Funhouse, or Bray Wyatt himself may show up. Who knows? But I'm excited for Elimination Chamber, and I'm definitely excited for the road to WrestleMania. But that's it for the WrestleBread podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Be sure to follow the podcast on Twitter at WrestleBread. You can follow me on Twitter at JDC137. That's JAYDEE, the letter C137. You can click the links in the bios for the Instagram, the Facebook, and the the Instagram, the Facebook, and the YouTube channel as well. We are coming up with our 4-year anniversary in April. Be tuned. Stay tuned for what will be happening, how I'm going to celebrate that. It's going to definitely tie in with the birthday, of course. I'm not 100% sure what exactly I'm going to do for the 4-year anniversary, but definitely follow on the socials to keep tuned in for that as well. Let me know your thoughts, your predictions for the Elimination Chamber, what match you're looking most forward to. Who do you think Bray Wyatt is going to go against? And where do we go from here as to who will win the United States title? Like I said, thank you so much for listening. And until next time, guys, peace.